Welcome back, everyone, to Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten, the show where 5 DMs take on D&D's top Gothic horror campaign. I'm Dragnacardo, your host and DM, and I'm ready for some spooky Pride Month. How about y'all?
We get to meet my favorite character.
Go
I'm here.
ahead.
I'm as someone who is both queer and probably undead. I'm feeling very optimistic about this episode.
I personally can't wait for the party to get educated on the values of, community and queer culture and murdering an undead vampire lord as a revenant. So I'm really excited.
I think the really big takeaway for this for me is that gay people should still be angry. Don't ever leave that behind.
Exactly. Always angry all the time, and channel your rage into killing vampires.
Vindictive.
That's the gay culture.
Love it. All right, well, I think we are ready and hyped up for our month of Pride, so without any further ado, let's get started with Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. And welcome back, everyone. So, last we left off on Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. With Valaki's vampiric problem conquered, and Davian Mardukov, Madame Ava's foretold ally, recruited to the party, our unlikely heroes set off for the forgotten mansion of Argynvostholt, lost amid the wayward mists of the Svalich Wood. As they explored the haunted manor's forgotten corridors, the companions came upon a familiar acquaintance, the famed vampire hunter Dr. Rudolf van Richten. Though the good doctor, who had decided to lay low at the mansion while preparing his plans to vanquish Strahd, was glad to share what little he knew of the ancient draconic manor, tensions grew higher when Esmeralda challenged him to share the truth of a half-burned page she had found amidst his notes at Lake Baratok. In response, Van Richten revealed a terrible truth. That, after Esmeralda's parents had sold his son, Erasmus Van Richten, to the vampire Baron Matus, the boy had been turned to a vampire, forcing his death at his own father's hands. Overcome with grief and rage, Van Richten had sought vengeance against the Vistani, unleashing a horde of undead upon a caravan of innocents, whose leader, a seer, unleashed a curse upon him in retribution. As Kiva comforted a distraught Esmeralda, Van Richten retreated to his chambers, leaving Metron with a parting gift to protect his once-treasured pupil. Leaving Van Richten behind and venturing further into the manor, the companions found 3 revenants, evidently members of an Order of the Silver Dragon, but found their hearts to be blinded by hate for who they took to be the servants of Strahd. Though the undead were defeated, their spirits fled, vanishing into the mists. Our heroes further ascended the manor, exploring crumbling bedchambers swarmed by giant spiders and encountering additional hauntings, including a fiery draconic apparition that pleaded with them to save the knights of the manor, and a dragonet forged of ash and smoke that fled to the upper floors, guiding them. As they followed its trail, Erthrendir came upon a dusty, cobweb-ridden chamber decorated with faded war banners, an old iron chandelier, and a heavy wooden table surrounded by dragon-carved chairs, each one sitting a skeletal human in tattered chainmail. As the companions looked on, one corpse slowly turned its head toward the intruders, rasping in a dead, gravelly voice, "Why do you, the living, disturb the dead?" And so, Erthrendir. The creature's voice echoes rasping across the ancient, faded stone walls of the corridor. Kiva, behind you, you hear this rasping, gravelly voice, and peering over Erthrendir's shoulder, you see the array of skeletal figures, their eyes sunken, as they stare hollowly toward you, as if waiting.
Kiva sort of stares back for a moment, not in a challenging way, just sort of like I'm watching you, watching me way. And perhaps against her better judgment, she'll say, it wasn't our intention to disturb you. I think we're just looking for answers and something to help us on our mission. And we don't want to fight you. That's clear. I guess we just need answers. And she's gonna look to Amity, because she knows she had the dream and might be able to explain better.
Amity sort of paces forward to see who's speaking. Oh my. We were told, or at least I got some kind of message that there was this big dragon who wanted to free you and said that you were in some everlasting fight. Is that right?
The corpse that addressed you, unblinking, regards you but slowly exhales. It's strange. Looking at it, you have a sure sense that this creature does not need to breathe, but it's like the rattling, dying breath of a tortured creature. Papery and thin. Red eyes staring at you from the dim light of the gray, dirt-smeared room. The Revenant eyes you balefully, but without evident malice, and rasps, "It is good that you do not wish hostilities. Our fight is with another from you. And it would seem fortuitous, then, that you've heard, perhaps, from one that we know quite well."
Do you know the dragon?
The figure, male, long white hair past his shoulders, a faded, tattered tunic of dark blues worn away by age, and silver threads that have grown bare and moth-eaten with years of misuse, slowly inclines its head. "Indeed. The words you speak are as the whispers of Argynvost." The corpse gives a long, suffering sigh and glances about its compatriots, who regard you intently and quietly. "Would that we could hear his messages as we once did. But alas, the shadows here are too strong, I fear." He inclines toward the interior of the chamber. "If you be not foes, step in, so that we may look upon you so that we maybe speak as civilized hosts to guests, even in this forsaken place.
Erdendir, his eyes almost just kind of steps inside, just very nervous, but a certain eagerness showing in his stride. It's an honor. I'm happy that you would be so courteous. We've not. Your friends downstairs seemed to think we were someone else.
I apologize then. I apologize then for their impertinence. It is difficult after so long in these walls to not let one's mind wander to darker places. The one that we hunt or would, if we could so choose. His shadow looms large across this place. Accept my apology for the, well, cold reception you may have received by our compatriots. It is difficult to hold on to one's consciousness, the threads of the mind. Well, men were not let to live such as this, nor for such a time, I fear.
Age is not kind after so many centuries. Apology accepted.
The corpse-like man nods his head faintly toward you. I am, or perhaps was, Sir Godfrey Gwylm, of the Order of the Silver Dragon, and these were my brothers and sisters in arms. And he gestures toward the others around the table, who stare toward you with hollow, lidded gazes, quiet, watching. You say that you have come here seeking answers. What brings you to this forgotten place, truly?
We have been trapped here as playthings and enemies of the vampire. As we've grown stronger and as we've grown aware of what he could do, we have begun seeking to find ways and means to put an end to him. And we had hoped that here there might be some who would be able to help us.
Sir Gwylm nods, closing his eyes. Would that we could assist in your crusade against the monster in the Castle Ravenloft. But I fear, for all the enmity we bear him, for what he has done to our order, the vows we have sworn yet bind us from raising our hands in battle against him. It is good, however, to know that others still may carry on the fight.
Vows to whom?
He tilts his head toward you. Our commander, of course. Captain Vladimir Horngard. He dwells and he waits. To him, this war was ended long ago. Now there is only the enduring of it.
And so you swore not to raise a hand against Strahd. Am I correct in presuming you fought against him in your lives?
Aye, he says, and all around you you see the skeletal figures seated around the table. 2 women, 2 men, each wearing the broken chainmail, faded gray faces, and white, patchy hair, the sunken features of the undead, nodding, glaring, baring teeth, and clear distaste for the individual mentioned.
Erthrindir's face is just clearly, utterly confused. Then, if it would not be impolite to ask, if you fought against him, why would you need an oath not to do so now? Was there a surrender of some sorts? Or I apologize, I just don't understand.
I understand. Though you look, I am sure, given your lineage, you may hold yet more memories than your companions, or perhaps even those amongst us have, in some cases, but by the look you bear about you, you have not served under the command of another. You have not defended the ranks of brothers in arms. When we lived, we served, and we served with a sworn oath of fealty to the commander of the Order of the Silver Dragon. It is that oath that binds us yet, even as our bodies persist beyond the veil of life. Where our commander leads, we follow, and where he is unwilling to take us, there we cannot stray.
Erthrindir breathes out heavily, and then evidently frustrated, and looks up. And can you tell me why he felt the need to give you those orders? Of course, I wouldn't dream of forswearing a knight's honor, but I would like to understand why, if my knowledge of those like you is that you are here for a purpose. If that purpose is something to do with the vampire or with the wars surrounding him, why would your commander ask you to swear an oath to not finish what you started?
He closes his eyes again, and then glances across each of you at the entrance to the chamber. That, I fear, is the conclusion of a much longer tale. But if you wish it, I would be glad to expound upon the origins of the place in which we now dwell, and the cursed existence that we have succumbed to.
I would like to hear, and I don't think we have anything better to do, frankly. It'd be an honor.
He nods. Long ago, before I took my first steps from the cradle, before the man named Strahd von Zarevich was even a twinkle in the eyes of the king and queen that begat him, there was a silver dragon of the name Argynvostholt. He glances toward Amity. By your words, it seems that you might have encountered him, or perhaps heard a whisper of his spirit in the ether.
And we've seen him here too. His ghost, or something.
Indeed. Sadly, he is no longer with us, and has not been for many years. It is only through my sense of what we have become that I can feel that, as I am sure you can as well, sensitive one, that his soul, his memory is far from at peace, and that he mourns what we have become. Would that I could set him at rest, but alas, that is in the hands of others than I.
In your mind, does your oath, I mean, your commander, the person you gave an oath to, do they outrank the, big dragon?
He chuckles a strange, echoing, but rasping sound. I can see why you would think such, but no. Argynvostholt was a dragon, and a dragon pays homage and fealty to no man. What he was, however, was our lord and our patron. For you see, before Castle Ravenloft was erected like a blight upon this land, before the armies of Zarovich washed into the valley, there was a man named Lord Argynvostholt, a guise of our one-day patron and founder. He came to this land, Barovia, though it was not known as such in those days, beautiful and untouched as it was, for he sought what all and many dragons do, a home. It was here that he erected what was to become his fortress, Argynvostholt, the place, the hold of the Silver Dragon. But you see, he had come here for another reason. For a Silver Dragon seeks to protect, to defend, and to stop the abuses of those who would do harm. For you see, Lord Argynvostholt did not come to this valley solely for the beauty that he found there. He knew of a place of darkness that dwelled within. I tell you this not to encourage you to seek it out, nor because I am confident that you shall not. But then again, Barovia is lost as it can be. This place of darkness that so lured our patron here, what he sought to defend from the forces of evil, was a location called the Amber Temple, a repository of foul malevolence. And in its defense, to stop the unworthy, the malevolent, the tyrants from taking it, the Order of the Silver Dragon was born.
I'm sorry, the Amber Temple, you said?
Indeed.
Could you expand on the nature of what you mean by malevolence exactly? I've heard the name, but what's in there?
He raises an eyebrow at your familiarity. Interesting. Perhaps the knowledge has disseminated further than we have thought in the years that have passed. That is not perhaps to be surprising.
Not very far, but I find I would like to know.
Very well then. If you do oppose the vampire, then perhaps it shall do you good to know, well, of the origins of those that stood against him. For this temple that we defended, it hosted things that I can only describe to you as powers of deep and ancient evil. I must warn you, it is a place of darkness, of creeping corruption. And it was our sworn duty to halt those who sought, well, malefactors who sought it for their own cruel and wicked ends.
Aerith's face is twisted into a grimace, and a noble one. Thank you. That clears some things up.
Of course. It remains unknown to us if this temple was known to Zarovich when he came to the valley. But even as we defended it, we also did what we could as sworn upholders of the Celestial Order. We defended enemies of a tyrant whose reputation began to rise through the land. We defended refugees and fought to the battlefront against a general who led his cruelty and his troops encroaching further across the domain. Perhaps you have heard of this general, this Prince of War.
Strahd.
I trained knights, and the resources of a silver dragon provided an exceptional match for the battle-weary soldiers. The devil, they called him, but even a devil's resources are not infinite. And Sir Gwilym bares his yellowed, cracked teeth. Yet even so, even with a dragon on our alliance leading the path forward, battles do not win wars. When his reinforcements arrived, the valley was taken. My men were slain. The knight that I loved was lost to me, and Argynvostholt, though he did battle mightily within the mansion's walls, he fell, and in the aftermath, Von Zarevich had him hacked to pieces, his corpse stripped to the bone and transported to his fell castle as a trophy of war. For the dragon, among the most noble of beasts, there was no greater dishonor. And so, the spirit of our commander answered, with fire and fury and vengeance. You understand, of course, that the oath sworn by a knight of the Holy Order binds further than mere words. And so in his oath of vengeance, so too were our oaths bound. And thus, he almost shrugs, shaking his head, we lived again.
I'm so sorry that you lost your friend. And, well, of course, it's inadequate, I'm sure, but that's horrific. Thank you for sharing that with us.
He nods.
He's gonna traipse over to Esma and Kiva. Kiva, I know you had some kind of, what was it, looking at Esmeralda, oath-based magic, right? Do you know what might help us break the oaths, getting to help us?
Would she, DM, have any idea now that she has made her own oath?
I would say give me a wisdom check.
Oh goodness, this is not going to be good.
I believe in you.
That's a 5. I don't know if that, gives me anything insightful.
Not particularly. Introspection is difficult for many people, and, Kiva, you feel that, you're more than one who looks ahead to things to come. You and Esmeralda have spoken briefly of paladins, of knights, of others who have sworn oaths and so derived power from it, that have shaped themselves or attached themselves in some spiritual way to the words they have spoken, but that you've heard requires meditation, introspection, which is not something you've been particularly inclined to do, to really sense how that oath has bound itself upon you, if it even has.
Yeah, Kiva looks a little bit embarrassed back at Amity and just says, no, Amity, I'm sorry. I'm not even sure how this happened to me, really. So I don't know if I can offer any assistance to. And I also think my oath, or whatever it is, was a little different than theirs. Obviously, I'm not martial, military. She sort of like gives like an awkward, like, you know, thank you for your service, like nod. Revenant.
Just a really bad salute.
Yeah, just like a military presence. She's from the Simp army, so you know, a different oath.
Oh, no problem. Don't worry. If you clearly want to fight the vampire, and I mean, so does Argynvost. I think you were saying that he doesn't like your curse state. Do you think if I could maybe get him here, like send you, have him give you a message, would that outrank your oath?
Sir Willem shakes his head. That I fear not, for we have seen the signs of Argynvost's mourning. But our commander does not see it. I fear his mind is blinded by the hatred and the shadows that have consumed him so. Would that our oath to Argynvost could be fulfilled, in defense of his honor, to restore what had somehow been lost, but alas, I fear it impossible.
Is he here? Your commander?
Godfrey slowly stares over your shoulder, over Ismark's and Esmeralda's shoulders, to the corridor beyond. Aye, he lingers, waiting, unchanging, in the audience hall where Argynvost once held court with his knights. I advise you, you may seek reason with him, but I fear that the shadows that cloak his mind may darken his sight beyond the ability of rationale and pleading.
I know you already apologized for the not so warm welcome we got earlier, but is it likely that he's going to perhaps act the same way if he's that gone with rage? Do you think there's a chance that we would have to face him in combat in any way?
I advise you not to explore that thought or to incur it. In life, he was the best of us. In death, I remind you that the spirits of those in the Order are bound to him and his will today. Should you find him, do not incur his wrath, or else you may find yourselves joining us sooner than you may wish. And again, he bares his teeth in that terrible grimace of a smile.
Kiva just sort of smiles back awkwardly and nods a little, and just sort of mumbles, okay, no fighting.
There's a moment of pause, and then he turns back to Erthrendir. But I believe that I've not fully answered your original question, have I?
No. After you came back, you said you were called back for vengeance. What changed that? What made you stop? I know the oath. What made him, your commander, stop?
Well, it's quite simple, of course. For you see, when he arrived in the valley, proud and haughty and strong and full of bloodlust, Strahd von Zarevich was but a man. And when our spirits found themselves restored to bodies not our own, and found those bodies shaping themselves to our wills and martial needs, well, what is a knight to do but go to war once again. We fought long and hard, waging war and turning idyllic fields and mountain slopes into battlefields, bloodying them again and again. There was no shelter, for you see, for those such as us, driven only by vengeance beyond the grave, death is no end. And the fight continued, until one day the skies above Barovia turned black with thunder clouds, and the air choked with mist. And when we came to the castle to see what had been wrought, we were met not by Zarevich, but by an old crone. She called herself Seer, Prophetess, and she told us that Zarevich had fallen into darkness, that he had become a creature of the night, of blood-sucking and ill will. And with that, she told us that the place that he had conquered had become a prison for all who dwelled within, for eternity. For you understand, Commander Horngard did not simply wish for Zarevich to die for what he had done, no. That would be far too easy a fate. He wanted to see the man suffer. And why, I ask you, would such a man ever allow his target, freedom, from the cage of torment he would dwell seemingly forevermore? No lands to conquer, no crowns to rule, only the mists and a land of the dead.
He seems to have been finding his amusement well enough in the meantime.
Perhaps he has. But perhaps what he seeks, what he needs, that I doubt he shall ever achieve.
Aerith looks very much like he'd like to start arguing, but is kind of holding himself back. He straightens up his posture and bows. Thank you. And I appreciate the story and the friendship. We have not met many who are willing to sit and simply talk about what has become. It's been a pleasure.
He nods slowly toward you, and then, slowly, his undead, time-ravaged hand, shaking slightly from the exertion, points a single half-rotted digit toward the mantle above the fireplace. Do you see that spot there upon the mantle? Bare and worn, unlike the stones around it. And as you look, you see upon it a strangely shield-shaped patch upon the wall there.
I do.
That wall once bore in a place of honor the scale of the silver dragon, we called it. A blessed shield of war and of protection and peace. It, like so many others, was taken, plundered away with the fall of this mansion, our home. Argynvostholt, the hold of the silver dragon, is but a shell of what it once was. Perhaps if you listen closely, you shall still hear the spirit of its builder whispering to you from its walls. But should you find some way of restoring the honor of the Order, perhaps his spirit could rest for all time and be at peace. But until then, I can offer only my regrets for the little and naught that we have to offer you. May you go well in your war against the Devil One, and may your light shine strong in the face of his shadows.
And in enduring, may you find peace and hope rather than emptiness.
Gives you a final slow nod of grim understanding and respect, and then slowly, followed by the others in the chairs, sits back in his seat, his shoulders slowly slumping and going limp, and exhales with another rattling breath as his body falls still, staring ahead into the dust.
Those of you who are looking over at Erthrindir right now can see as he brushes away what looks like an angry tear from the corner of one of his eyes and stands straight up and begins walking out of the room. All right. He said the commander was just in the next hall, right?
Hold on. Amity's actually going to go over to that unworn spot above the fireplace and see if she can, like, literally listen to the building, like was suggested.
Make a perception check.
You bet I'm going to make a perception check. Nat 6.
Oof.
You hear a faint whispering through the air, and at once you're kind of excited, your hairs on the back of your neck prickling, and then you realize it's only a draft from the broken window 3 feet away.
All right. Sorry, what were you saying, Effindir?
He's already halfway out the door. I'm going to see Vladimir.
Wait, are you going to use that spell you did with Victor that makes you really persuasive?
He stops. I should definitely do that, yes. Bless you, darling. Wait, where's Lillison?
And with that, while that was going on, Metron was actually noticing that Lillison was not with the rest of the party and would have gone to find her.
Okay, and as you turn around, you see Metron is no longer present either.
Where'd they go?
So, as Erthrindir and Kiva find themselves at a loss for the presence of their compatriots, Metron, you step down the stairs toward the second floor in search of your missing friend. As you do, you hear your steps echoing through the dark corridors, and a soft draft whispering past the curtain above you. What do you do? Where do you go?
Well, can I make out what the whispering sound is?
Seems to just be the wind. And as you step out, you see the balcony ahead of you, looking down over the main foyer, the stone busts glaring down quietly, silently, upon the empty space there.
Yeah, Metron is like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, just sort of very as quietly as he can, sneaking down the hall, and at every possible turn, he's whisper shouting out Lillison's name.
All right, Lillison. Yes? Sorry.
Oh, no,
From
go on.
Metron. Okay, so
No, go on.
Lillison, as the others' footsteps vanish behind you, you find yourself alone in the quiet chapel of Argynvostholt, on the balcony looking down over the pews and ancient pillars below. It's quiet here, dusty but peaceful in its own strange way. Below you see thick clouds of mist rolling across the floor.
Lillison had slowly walked back here after the whole thing with the spiders, which we are not going to talk about. And as everybody's, the clamor of everybody going up the stairs had faded away, she had walked back to the chair that seemed awfully a lot like a throne overlooking the chapel. And she stands for a long moment with a hand resting on one of the armrests. And after a moment, she moves over and sits down.
It's stiff, unyielding, but exquisitely carved. You realize for a moment that it doesn't seem to have been carved for comfort, perhaps, but nonetheless, as you rest your hands upon its carved arms and look down upon the chapel below, you feel not a sense of power, perhaps, but looking down at the chapel below and feeling for a moment of how the one who sat here once looked upon those before it. It's almost like a flicker of memory in the back of your mind, and then it's gone again. All you see after that is just the thin mist curling across the floor below, and the dim gray light filtering in through the shattered stained glass windows, punctured occasionally only by the white flash of the rain outside, and the lightning as it thunders in the clouds above.
At first, Lillison is just sort of flexing her ankles and, shaking out her shoulders, just taking a moment to rest. But after a few moments, she had originally slumped down, but her spine straightens and her shoulders go back and her chin lifts a little bit. And her gaze goes very, very hard as she surveys everything before her.
All right, as you do, just faintly in the distance, approaching from the west, you hear footsteps, hesitant footsteps, a single pair, but slowly seeming to approach your location.
Listen!
And you hear Metreon calling out your name.
Lillison invisibly, well, not invisibly, but not visibly to Metreon, rolls her eyes a little bit. And she tilts her head a little bit in that direction and just says, "Enter."
Hearing her voice coming from that direction, he rushes in, and then seeing her seated in this throne gives her a bit of a odd and maybe even slightly suspicious look. Ollie, what are you doing in here?
She gives him a very icy, regal stare for a moment, and then slumps down again, rolls her eyes briefly, and gives him a little smile. Well, it sounded like the rest of everybody had found something very exciting.
And sitting in a chair is exciting for you?
Sitting in a chair, not learning exciting things that a certain friend of ours might want to know is, well, not exciting, but prudent. And I do like prudent things.
Guess you got a point there. And when he says that, he starts to slump down against the wall behind the chair. Maybe I should be down here too, what with him keeping his peepers on me and all that.
You think he's doing that through the wineskin he took?
I mean, I feel like all but know it now at this point, especially everything that Ed said and about the way he could look at things. I don't know. I don't like being left in the dark, but maybe it's for the best.
How much time does it take before that wineskin no longer counts as yours and becomes his instead?
I don't fucking know. I don't know anything about magic. I'm still trying to figure this out. And he twirls his fingers, and there's a bit of radiance shimmer that goes through his fingertips before he relaxes.
Maybe Earthrendir would know.
Yeah, he especially seemed pretty keen on talking to them people up there. Well, I don't know if I should call them people. I mean, they was people, and I shouldn't disrespect them like that. But they're very grim up there, very grim.
Hmm. I have so many questions, and I know I should not ask any of them.
I mean, maybe you can write them down, you know, or you can do that thing where you send folks messages and they can respond. It's like in your head, right? Sometimes.
Yes, I suppose I should.
Shh.
Why did you come down here?
Well, no offense, love, but you sneaking away. I know that's I know the plan is to keep you as informed as we need you to be, but it's a little hard to shake, and you're quite sneaky. So just wanted to make sure you was all right. I mean, look at them things. He gestures towards the chapel. I mean, those things could cut any one of us in half if given a chance. That not, it was just real boring up there. There's a lot of talking.
Hmm. And do you know, I was wondering if we could learn anything from the graves outside.
I mean, we is looking for a tomb, right? Was a mausoleum, sepulture, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, a guild member.
Yeah. And I mean, this is kind of a guild, isn't it? I mean, it's an order. They was calling it the Order of the Silver Dragon. I take it that it's the dragon outside. I kind of left before I learned much more about it, much more than that. But yeah, I mean, guild order, same thing, right?
Well, I suppose. I mean, I assume that a member of an order would object to the order being called a guild and vice versa, but I don't know what fate has to say about the whole thing. It should do no harm to look. Unless, of course, we get set upon by large corpses in a lot of armor.
Yeah, or other large things that shoot sticky webs out and got lots of legs and like to eat things like people-sized people like us.
Yes, let's not go in that direction.
No, I would much like to avoid it.
Wilson gets up and starts heading towards um, the northern set of stairs.
Oh wait,
But-
you doing that? We're going now. You don't want to get the
Well-
others?
I mean, you said they were doing a lot of talking, and if I know Erthrindir, he does like talking.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know what's out there. I mean, you on your own ain't, it probably ain't a good idea, and just the two of us is just as bad. I don't, I don't like this place, and I feel like we need to, kind of need to stick together.
Well, if I send a message to Erthrindir now telling him where we'll be, like some sort of children telling their parents they'll be late for curfew, would that make you feel better about the whole thing?
Metron fires a bit of a look her way, almost slightly offended that he would want to have any kind of like parental guidance in this or supervision. But then shakes his head a bit. Fine, yeah. Just just make sure that they know where you is and where we is, and we'll be fine.
And we'll be careful. She pauses on the top step of the staircase down and sends a quick message off to Erthrindir.
What's it say?
Metreon and I are going to look at the gravestones. We will be very careful. Don't tell us what's going on upstairs.
All right.
Understood.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, and with that, Lillison, you hear Arthur's reply echoing in your mind. What do you do?
Understood. Be safe. Keep in touch. That's all.
Lillison looks back at Metreon and gives him sort of a satisfied nod and heads down the stairs.
Yeah, Metron will come running after, still in his revenant disguise, but yeah.
All right. Following behind Lillison, your footsteps echo on the narrow spiral staircase, kicking up additional clouds of dust as you let the dim light from the narrow windows guide your path. Stepping out, you step around and see Lillison already standing beside the door leading out to the cemetery, the wooden bar discarded off to the side, and she steps through onto a stone landing looking out over the space beyond. Lillison.
Yeah, he's letting her walk out a little bit more ahead of him.
All right. Lillison, as you step out onto the stone landing, you see steps going down toward the grass below, and you can see tucked behind the mansion is a fog-shrouded cemetery enclosed by a 7-foot-tall fence of wrought iron. In the northeast corner stands a mausoleum. As you stand there, however, you suddenly feel like someone or something is watching you. Looking up, you spot a well-dressed man with a thick mane of thistledown hair observing you from a high tower window, before he draws the curtain and disappears from view.
Lillison freezes, and she sends another message to Erthrindir, saying, "I think there's somebody alive on the 3rd floor, east side, northern portion."
Understood. Did they look armed or hostile? Brief visual description, please. Thank you.
Did they look armed or hostile?
No, just very well-dressed, aristocratic finery, almost. Just regarding you quietly from the window. Did not seem to make any overt moves, but just watching.
Well dressed, thick mane of hair, definitely saw me. Turned away from window. Not certain if hostile.
Understood. We'll check out when we can.
Lillison glances back to Metreon, and only now does she say, "Did you see that man up there?"
Did I?
You did not. Standing toward the door as you were, you just saw Lillison glance up, and then following her gaze, you just see a closed curtain.
Yeah, he shrugs. No, I don't see nothing.
I think there was somebody there who saw us. Somebody who looked alive.
You mean you think it's worth going up and getting the others?
I told Erthrindir about where he was. I'm certain he would run into the others long before he could get down here.
Well, let's just do a quick sweep of the graveyard. Yeah, check out that what's it called, that mausoleum over there, and get back in. Because any gestures at the grass and the mist that's curling over it, this is not pleasant looking at all, and I'd rather not traipse through it.
She looks back at him. Presumably he's still in like revenant mode, yeah?
Yeah.
But Metreon, you fit right in here.
He glares with his one good eye because the other one looks like it's kind of hanging out of the socket a bit. But he starts to follow behind.
Lillison takes a couple more steps down, but she actually conjures her mage hand and sends it kind of waving over towards some of the graves that look like they've been dug up.
Yes, looking over, kind of peering closely through the mist, you can see that several of the graves, glancing over, it seems 5 in all, have been dug up. Nothing seems to respond to your mage hand as you hover it over there. If you could like, you could take a closer look.
She's going to stay by the door for now and, wait for a moment and then send the mage hand over to knock on some of the gravestones.
All right. You see a few bits of dirt and moss kind of clump up and fall off in some places from the impact, but aside from stirring up a bit of fog, nothing seems to respond.
While she's doing this, can I just keep an eye out on the graveyard itself, just to see if there's anything stirring, anything unnatural looking that's happening?
Make a perception check.
Sure. We're rolling great, guys.
We're on fire.
We're on fire. That's a 5.
5, looking around, just a lot of thick fog. Not much to see.
Yeah, Metreon shudders a bit, and can we pick this up? Yeah, let's just look around. Let's just check names.
Just making sure that nothing's going to pop out at us. Do you want to take the left side or the right?
I guess I'll take the left. We meet at that building over there, and he points over at the what looks to be, I guess, like a mausoleum.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah. As she breaks off, he jumps off the platform and then starts to look around.
Okay. Are you taking a look at the graves? Are you making your way toward the mausoleum?
We're gonna look at the graves and then meet at the mausoleum.
All right. Both of you would like to make a perception check for me as you inspect the graves.
15.
16.
All right. Glancing down at the graves, specifically you first look over the covered ones and they seem to be undisturbed, but as you grow closer to and more closely inspect the excavated graves, there's something strange at first looking over them. It doesn't seem like there are shovel marks in the soil. You don't see any sign of completely overturned earth in an orderly fashion. But as you look up around, you recall that the door was barred when you got in, and looking around, well, the surrounding fence does seem intact. Doesn't seem like anyone got to the cemetery from outside of the walls. And then you glance back down at the dirt and you see gouges in the soil, almost like fingers scraping through the earth. It almost seems like the corpse is buried there, just crawled out of the earth and walked away.
Cries as Lillison, not at all.
Metreon looks like he wants to hurl. Any names of note?
Not in particular. Most of them seem to have sirs or sirs attached to them. Knights, you presume. One of them does denote the name of a squire, another of a farrier. But on the whole, it does seem to be entirely dominated by knights for the most part.
Okay. And then, yeah, I'll meet at Lillison at the mausoleum.
Yeah, I think Lillison is going to take the time to write some of these names down in that journal that was so helpfully provided back in Death House, and then wander over to the mausoleum.
All right. As you meet up there, you see Metreon already looking up toward it. And you can see here tarnished silver-plated gargoyles shaped like dragon wormlings clinging to the stone-tiled roof of the mausoleum. There's an 8-foot-tall, 4-foot-wide white marble door set into the southwest wall, engraved with a name. Argynvostholt.
Does that name mean anything to you from the brief time you were upstairs?
I don't know. Maybe. I wasn't paying a lot of attention, honestly.
I suppose that makes sense. and she will send her mage hand forward to first just knock on the door very politely.
All right. It wraps its arcane knuckles against the white marble. It's just cold and hard. There's kind of this tapping noise, but it looks pretty solid and pretty hefty.
After a few moments, she will open the door with her mage hand.
It is far too heavy for your mage hand to open. This is a crypt door. If you'd like the two of you can try to open it together, but that mage hand is not going to do the trick.
Okay. After her mage hand refuses to budge the door, Lillison looks over to Metreon and says, "So, while nobody else is here, what are the rules on a bit of light grave robbery?"
Oh, I'm fine with it personally.
All right, well, shall we open the door?
Yeah, I mean, and if we're robbing graves, as long as they don't, pop out and try to tear our throats out, I'm totally okay with it.
Well, they've gone this long, ignoring all of my arcane knocks and not popping out at us. This would be an exceptionally ironic time to do it.
All right, then. Would the two of you like to try to open the door together?
I figure I'll let her mage hand do it.
That mage hand is not going to do the trick. This is a solid slab of 8 foot tall, 8 foot wide marble.
Metron kicks his feet up in the dirt a little bit like a little kid, and he goes over to the door. All right, you gonna give me a hand here? 2 of them, preferably.
I will give you 3 hands.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Pulling together, you grunt with exertion, sweat beading on your foreheads as together you try to heave, pulling the door painfully open. I would like one of you to make a strength check with advantage.
I feel like Lillison's probably stronger than
Really?
Metreon.
I feel like Metreon's probably stronger than Lillison.
What do you have?
I've got a 10.
What's that?
I've got a 10.
I've got an 8.
Oh. Wow. Okay.
Oh, leg strength. It's all
We
fast.
brought the wrong 2 people down here. All right, I'll make the check.
All right.
That was
What's the
just
check?
1. So that's a 9 and a 17.
Okay. Your first efforts fail to make the door budge, and then you grit your teeth, close your eyes, and heave again. And as you do, you almost feel like out of the corner of your eye, you see some of the slivers of mist curling up around your legs, up around your arms. No, that must be your imagination. But the silvery mist, nonetheless, as it wafts beneath your feet, you feel a surge of cold strength in your arms with a grunt. You heave the massive 4 foot wide marble door open, revealing darkness and the crypt beyond. Would you like to step inside?
First.
What was that?
Ladies first, chivalry and all that. You can go in before me.
Lillison will dig around to see if she has any sources of light. Somehow this has not come up yet.
We're team dark vision. That's understandable.
All right, we have dark vision. Yeah, Lillison will step into the doorway and just glance around.
All right. You take a step inside, your footsteps echoing across the flagstone floor. The interior of the mausoleum is dark and dusty, and inside you see only 4 empty alcoves with raised floors. Etched into the far wall, however, is a verse written in Draconic, which you, Lillison, can immediately recognize and read if you would like.
I would like.
Ooh.
All right. The text reads simply, "Here lie the bones and treasures of Argynvost, Lord of Argynvostholt, and founder of the Order of the Silver Dragon."
Lillison takes a step back. Well, there is a good chance that that entire thing is a trap.
Anything from Metreon?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was pressing the wrong button. Yeah, he gestures over at the back of the wall. Is that what that gobbledygook says?
Well, it doesn't say this is probably a trap, but it might as well. Although, if you just stand in the doorway and look around, do you see anything other than just that?
Do I DM?
Make a perception check. What's that?
19.
All right. You take a good moment to look around, your tiefling's dark vision perhaps a bit sharper than Lillison's. Although actually I will need you to go roll with disadvantage because you are looking into a dark space.
Okay. Oh, come on, man. 7.
7. Looking within, you kind of squint for a moment, doing your best to make out the details, but aside from the verse, which is illuminated faintly by the gray light, though the storm itself has thinned a bit since you were last out here, leaving mostly a faint drizzle and the pitter-patter of rain running down the sides of the mausoleum. The interior of the crypt is dark and dusty and plain. You don't get the sense of anything there that you can see that's noticeable or worthwhile. Just an old, forgotten place.
Let's do this. Metreon, feeling that warmth in his fingers again, frustrated by the fact that he can't see anything as clearly as he wants to, he feels that frustration ball up into his hand, and as he raises his hand, he's going to cast light.
All right. You raise your hand, and a brilliant, radiant spark leaps into being, surrounding your palm.
Wilson half jumps away at first because she thinks he's casting some sort of fire spell, and then sees what he's doing and says, that's new.
It's new, and he brings his hand down to eye level and just marveling at the illumination of his palm and kind of wincing. He puts it back away from him. Yeah, that's new. It's real new.
It's very useful.
Or maybe it is. And Metreon steps inside.
All right. With your new vantage point and your new illumination, if you'd like to take another look around, you may.
I would like to.
All right. Give me another perception check. Or you can make an investigation if you'd like to look more deeply.
Oh. Yeah, no. Perception would be better. 10.
Okay. You take a glance around, inspecting each of the dusty alcoves, seeing for anything out of place, any marks on the ground, any scratches or panels that might indicate a trap of some kind. But looking through it, you see only dust and age and time.
Well, if there was something here, don't look like it's here anymore. Maybe we should just find the others and, I don't know, maybe one of them can do something more useful than this. And he wiggles his his illuminated fingers.
I think that light is plenty useful, but I don't know. The writing says that, well, it says, "Here lie the bones and treasures of Argynvost, Lord of Argynvostholt, and founder of the Order of the Silver Dragon." There are no bones or treasures that I can see.
Yeah, unless there's some kind of trapdoor or that he's invisible, I can't see him either.
And moreover, you would not simply write that there is treasure here unless you want somebody to come and steal it. Or unless you want to lure those who would steal it and then throw them into a trap.
Well, I'm not going to tempt fate, and he'll start to walk out of the mausoleum. Shall we?
Willison glances back and, reaches for the door and then shrugs and leaves the door where it is. Well, that was thoroughly unexciting.
Yeah, it was. And Metron's just like wiping his hand on his chest, trying to like get the light off, and until finally he figures out how to turn it off, and it goes away.
I wonder, is that vampire killing light?
I don't know. I don't feel the same as that the sword. It doesn't feel as warm. It's just kind of bright and cool.
I would say it might be worth investigating, except we usually don't have the opportunity to do a lot of scientific interrogation when we come across a vampire, do we?
I guess not. Well, at any event, maybe I can get Randy to look me over and nerd out about this, and I don't know, I'll figure it out.
She nods and starts walking back towards the steps.
I follow.
Okay. And as she does, back upstairs, Erthrindir, as you glance over your shoulder and Kiva, as you begin to speak, wondering where Metron has gone, you hear Lillison's voice echoing in your mind. And a few moments later, after you confirm your assent to her venture, you hear an addition regarding the strange man with thistledown hair staring at her from the 3rd floor, eastern side of the manor.
Kiva's going to look over at Erthanger and Amity and just say, maybe I'll go check that out while you talk to Vladimir, and we can meet back up once everyone's done with what they're looking at.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Just same thing I told her. Be careful. I'll shout if I need anything, and you do likewise. I don't want you fighting any spiders or anything without backup.
Oh god, yeah, no, definitely. And you two be careful as well. This guy sounds like a bit of a problem if we make him upset, so just be calm and polite, and well, you know, you two are the most polite out of all of us, so I think you're probably the best to deal with this.
Yeah, I'll do my damnedest. Good luck.
She'll look over to Ez and see if she wants to come with her to look around for this person.
Esmeralda gives you a nod. All right, I suppose, well, I am a bit of an investigator by trade. Perhaps let's do some investigating. Just, and she glances toward Erthrin and the others. Just don't get into any trouble, yes?
I'll do my best.
At this, you feel a weighty and wrinkly hand on your shoulder. And looking around, you see Davian looking you straight in the eye.
All right, lad. I came here to see if we could find anything that might help against the bastard in his castle. I didn't come here to get killed, all right?
I understand, and I have no intention of changing that. I'm just gonna go talk to the man, see his rationale, see if we can't make him see sense.
He snorts, rolling his eyes.
All right, but be warned. Folk old enough to be set in their ways. You might find that trying to explore what he knows or why he has his reasons for what he does will only make his temper worse.
Oh, I know. But I'm old too, and I can be crotchety when I need to. I think it balances out.
His eyes flash for a moment.
No offense, man.
I ain't japing with you, lad. If you're going to this creature, you heard the lot, driven by blind hatred and vengeance. The others that we saw downstairs, they attacked us on sight like dogs. Don't make this man your enemy. You got that? We ain't here for that.
He looks him in the eyes. Just kind of recognition, but not acceptance. I'll try. And
he snorts and steps back, lifting his hand for your shoulder.
Yeah. And then he kind of pulls out his own wand and begins to murmur an incantation. Loud enough that Amity could hear it, probably, or anyone else. Once upon a time, there was an eagle who flew over a kingdom of ghosts. The eagle was old, and he could see the way the ghosts lived, walking the paths they'd walked in life over and over, never ceasing. And the eagle thought them fools. But soon he realized that he had been flying the same path over the kingdom, watching the ghosts, as long as he could remember. And he swore that he would not be a ghost before his time. He's going to cast Enhance ability on himself. Eagle Splendor.
All right, very good. Looking around you, Amity, you see that ruffle of black feathers across your skin, across Aerith, your skin, kind of rippling across his face for a moment, then vanishing, melding back into his flesh. You watch as Davian kind of blinks up at you, looking a bit taken aback, shaking his head, muttering before falling silent.
Amity squeezes and ties her tail in a little knot for a moment.
Aw. Aerith probably does not notice this, but he will walk forward and into the next room.
As you step forward, you see in the space before you, the roof over this part of the mansion has utterly collapsed, creating a 20-foot diameter gaping hole with broken rafters bisecting it. Dark storm clouds roll across the sky overhead, and the floor is piled with rocks, broken tiles, shattered beams, and other debris. Beneath the rubble lie a sagging floor and puddles of rainwater. Ahead of you, to the east, you see a pair of double doors to your left, a door at the end of the hallway, and another door to the right at the end. Looking to your south, you see a corridor leading to the other side of the manor, as well as to your left, a broken room with a curtain hanging across its midsection, and to your right, a larger chamber whose end you cannot quite see.
He stops to goggle at the debris for a moment, and then steps into the larger space.
All right. As you climb and clamber over the rubble, you hear the sound of the tinders splintering, the rocks sliding down beneath your weight. And as you turn toward the right-hand side, the larger chamber to which you now face, you see that the west wall of this 50-foot long, 30-foot wide audience hall is crumbled, leaving a gaping hole and a pile of rubble. Weapons and shields that once hung from the walls have fallen to the floor and succumbed to rust, and a large wooden throne, carved to resemble a dragon with unfolding wings, faces 3 tall windows to the west. You can just barely see from this vantage point, but slumped in the throne is a gaunt, armored figure, with one gauntlet wrapped around the hilt of a great sword. It does not respond at your approach.
Looking back to see that Amity and Davian and Ismark are still with him, he steps further forward.
All right. As you step into the room, the debris cluttering beneath your footstep, you hear a low growl from the throne.
Go away.
Aerith keeps his distance and bows. In time, sir.
There's a pause, and then, before you can speak again, as you watch, the creature's grip on the great sword tightens.
If you have come to destroy me, know this. I perished defending this land from evil over 4 centuries ago, and because of my failure I am forever doomed. If you destroy my body, my spirit will find a new corpse to inhabit, and I will hunt you down. You cannot free me from my damnation, nor would I wish it. If you have come to come to free this land from the creature that feasts on the blood of the innocent, know this. There is no monster I hate more than Strahd von Zarovich. He slew Argynvostholt, broke the life of the knight I loved, and destroyed the valiant order to which I devoted my life. But Strahd has already died once. He cannot be allowed to die again. Instead, he must suffer eternally in a hell of his own creation, from which he can never escape. Whatever can be done to bring him misery and unrest I will do. But,
And at this, The figure in the throne slowly lifts its gaze to glance over the wings toward you, eyes glimmering with deep, untold hatred, flashing like red scarlet in the dim light.
But I will destroy anyone who tries to end his torment.
And as those baleful words echo in the dark chamber, Kiva, you and Esmeralda are left in the northern room to your own devices, your compatriots vanishing off to the south. What are you doing?
So, based on Lillison's message, did she give us a sort of direction, or is there a sense of direction that we could get to try to see where that person last was?
Yes, to your knowledge, she mentioned the eastern side of the 3rd floor. And from your memory of the towers that stand there and how the cemetery is laid out, it's probably, glancing back into the corridor, probably one of the doors on the eastern end of this corridor at the far side.
Okay, so yeah, Kiva will make her way and start opening doors. She will have the Sun Sword activated, though, at this point.
All right.
So I guess this first one coming up we'll look at.
All right, if you'd like to swing it open, give it a look. All right. Glancing inside this chamber, you see that this room is a haven for dust and cobwebs. 3 narrow windows allow slivers of light to illuminate bare oak shelves along the walls, and a torn, padded chair lying on its side near a cavernous hearth. A picture above the mantel has been slashed, its lower half hanging down below the frame like a torn piece of flesh. An iron door set in the south corner of the west wall hangs open on one hinge.
As much as she doesn't like it, she's gonna go in and, I guess, first of all, she wants to look at that painting, so she'll sort of, like, use her hand to try to, hold it up for a moment and see what the painting is.
Alright, taking a step inside this room, the painting itself hangs above the mantel of the fireplace on the right-hand side of the chamber. As you step up toward it, you can see that the picture clearly shows the mansion in better days, under clear winter skies with snow-capped mountains in the background. The top of the chapel tower glows like a silver beacon.
That's interesting.
As you glance down at the chair beside you, you can see despite the stripped bookshelves on the far side of the room, a small, lonely volume lying on the flagstone floor beneath the chair.
Yeah, she'll grab it and see what it might be.
It appears to be titled The Oath Celestial, though it's been partially burned and the cover was slashed by a sword. If you'd like, you can take a closer look through it.
Yeah, she might actually put it in her bag, cause that sounds super interesting to her. So she'll put it in her bag, and then, you said one of the iron doors is sort of hanging off its hinge a little bit?
Yes, so there is a door to the northern end, and there's a door to the left side of the chamber that's, hanging open on one hinge. So there's one solid door and there's one half-open door.
All right, she's gonna go to the solid door first and see if that is openable.
All right. As you step forward, crossing the room, you hear the soft flapping sound of wings, but can't discern its origin. And as you approach the door, a single piece of parchment blows off the top of a bookshelf, spirals lazily in the air, and lands gently at your feet.
She, stills for a moment and is thinking over every choice that she's ever made in her life, and then we'll pick up the parchment and look and see what it is.
Esmeralda glances down over your shoulder. Now, that's interesting.
It's probably going to be something awful, so, yeah, she'll look at it.
She sighs, glancing around. Perhaps so. According to that picture, this place was beautiful once. Curious to know what remains behind. And if you would like to take a look at your inventory and foundry, as I configure the permissions on this, if you'd like to take a look at the Lost Journal page under Handouts, if you'd like to read that aloud.
Ooh, okay. She looks over at Ez and just starts to read. My knights have fallen, and this land is lost. The armies of my enemy will not be stopped by sword or spell, claw or fang. Today I will die, not avenging those who have fallen, but defending that which I love. This valley, this home, and the ideals of the Order of the Silver Dragon. The evil surrounds me. The time has come to throw off this guise and show these heathens my true fearsome form. Let it spark terror in their hearts. Let them tell their stories of dark triumph against the protector of the Balanok Mountains. Let Argynvost be remembered as a dragon of honor and valor. My one regret is that my remains will not lie in their rightful place, in the hallowed mausoleum of Argynvostholt. No doubt my bones will be scattered among my enemies like the coins of a plundered horde, trophies of a hard-won victory. I do not fear death. Though my body will die, my spirit will live on. Let it serve as a beacon of light against the darkness. Let it bring hope to a land wrought with despair. Now to battle, eh? But I think we figured out what that light on the painting's supposed to represent.
Esmeralda nods, frowning, looking back up at the slashed art piece. Perhaps, but the tower above the mansion is dark. There's no light here.
Well,
Then again, the revenants did say that the spirit is not at rest.
maybe he has to be brought back to the mausoleum. Although, I mean, I feel like, look, the other revenant in the room said that Strahd has the bones. He cut him up and carved him up and stripped the flesh from them, and he kept it as a trophy. So, I don't think it'll be easy to get them back to here. Certainly not something we can just sneak out of his castle.
Certainly. So I think perhaps let's not jump to conclusions just yet. We've still got more to learn. Perhaps us and the others might find out more from their own ventures, and, well, there's more to this place yet. Perhaps we shall find more secrets waiting for us that can tell us more about what this spirit is waiting for, and perhaps how we might achieve it. But I confess I am intrigued to see what this place would look like with such a beacon shining in it. Would that perhaps the spirit was correct, and, well, perhaps he was only wrong about the time. We shall have to see.
I suppose so. She'll put the journal page in her bag as well, because she's sure that others would be interested in seeing that, and then try to open this door directly in front of her.
Okay. And as she does, back in the audience hall, Amity, as the Revenant's words ring out through the chamber, your detect magic spell renews, and you see a strong flicker of magic around the great sword, clutched tightly in the Revenant's hand. Arthur, the growling vow and defiance of the creature in the throne still rings very faintly in your ears, but the hall has fallen silent.
He listens, and some of the anger that he's been carrying on his shoulders and his brow falls away. He looks for a moment very, very tired. Sir Vladimir, I do not come to dissuade you. I'm a historian, a recorder of things that were, are, and will never be again. If this is what you have chosen for yourself, then it is. But I would like the honor of knowing as much as I can about you and your order. You lived among beauty here, and from what I can see and what I have gathered, you have done many things to be proud of. Would you do me the honor so I suppose I have a question. If this is what you have chosen, that Strahd will suffer in his prison, never to be released, and you, too, must endure as he does. Why have you chosen to endure like this?
There is a pause, and then a exhalation.
It is not a matter of choice. It is what must be done. Prisons need wardens. And so, as sentinel, I shall stand before the cage of the monster that bled this land dry.
And so you shall. I do not mean to doubt that. But I suppose, if you are to live like this, then you live among ruins, sir. Your home, and it is beautiful. This place, I've seen few like it. The floors are covered in rubble, and even looted as it is, I know just how rapacious invading armies can be. The foundations are still here. So, if this is how you must endure, as wardens, then would it not do to endure someplace you can make light again? With no holes in the roof, and fires in the hearths, and laughter in the air. This may be your sentence. You may be here to endure. But unless I don't believe there's any law that you ought to endure in pain.
There is a soft, humorless spark of laughter, and then the voice responds.
When my spirit was torn from my flesh, I heard only a voice, offering the vengeance I craved. But it was known to me then that my time was short. But 1 year I had, 12 moons to exact my revenge. But after our campaign was waged for months, and the skies turned black and the mists grew thick, it became clear to me that time itself had become my mistress. All things age, all things die. Would that one thing be restored, it should be torn down a moment later. Eternity! Your architectures are nothing before it. Come back to me when you have seen an eagle scraping away the dunes, the dust of sand from a dune amidst the mightiest desert. And when every grain of sand is lost, and the water has evaporated from the oceans, and the first second of eternity has passed, you will see how many mansions, how much laughter has passed beneath your paltry amusements. There is no life in this place. Its warden is death.
Earth's hands are balled into fists. I know. Better than you might think, Sir Horngard. I know all that is, all that will be, mansions, cities, homes, loves, is there to rot and die and fall away in the waves. I know. I have watched it happen over in this life and in the ones before. And I know what it is to watch time work. And so, when I say to bring fire and laughter here again, it is not to think you will trick time to get her to overlook what she must do. It is in defiance. Your mansion will crumble, and that eagle will scoop the desert away. But in the time that comes that you must endure, you are not alone. There are loves and people, and more to the point, there are people in the next room who would die for you, who would die to spend eternity with you. That is no small thing. You have people of your time. It may rot, it may go, but you have a privilege that even I have been robbed of. You will not be alone.
Slowly, the chainmail clinking together and grinding with rust and age, you watch as Vladimir's gauntleted hand slowly rises from the arm of the chair, his elbow leaning against the arm, and his fingers open, palm up, the rusted chainmail hanging limply off of the flesh.
Do what you will. Amidst the desecrated halls of this place, I will not stop you. Whatever entertains you in the fleetingness of this light you seem to hold so dear. It is not my place to halt your frivolities. But should you raise a hand against the ward that I watch, know that your life shall be cut short, and that eternity shall suddenly seem to you far longer than it was the day before.
The hand curls into a fist, and then slumps down against the side of the throne.
That would be hard. It already stretches far in front. You are determined to be what you will be, just as I was determined to be what I would be. But I will say this. You say this place is desecrated, and from what I gather, you are a paladin. I am not one to contest you in matters of faith. But when they taught me of Corellian, they also taught me this. A place is consecrated not because it has a saint's bones or an angel's touch, but because it is reserved for holy purpose. This place may be desecrated, but it need not be forever. If this is how you insist you live, then so be it. But if you were to make this place holy, with light and fire, and the love of those just 2 walls over, who I know love you more than words can say, then it might be holy again. Be well, Sir Vladimir. And may eternity find you gently.
He makes no response, merely grunts, and you hear a shifting and grinding of chainmail as he turns once more to face the windows looking west.
Earthwind turns back towards Amity and the others. And you can see now that his shoulders are shaking from anger or grief, you don't know which. Let's meet up with the others.
Okay. And as you do so, stepping slowly away from the room, leaving Commander Vladimir Horngard's slumped undead form in the throne behind you, that is where we're going to take our break.
Do.
Poor Godfrey.
He deserves better.
Alas. Well, in any case, thank you all for sticking around. As always, we shall pick this back up after a brief 15-minute break. Until then, as always, please do enjoy a few other messages from our D&D community, including this week a fireside chat with our very own Kaya, returning in honor, about fleshing out your character with routines and quirks. So hopefully you find that informative and enjoyable, and we will see you all back here soon.
Welcome to Fireside Chat, a short interlude with weekly features, where I, your host Lucas, will be showcasing and interviewing prominent D&D creators. This week, we're talking to Kaya, a Curse of Strahd dungeon master and the player of Lillisen in Twice Bitten, about how to flesh out a character that you can simply sit down and play. Previously, you talked about how to create a layered character psychology using the face, ego, heart method, and how to create character arcs using threats. How do these systems relate to actual experience when you're at the table?
Whether you use the systems that I previously talked about, or whether you use some other method to come up with your character's backstory and psychology, it can be pretty intimidating to plan out an entire character and then sit down at the table and go, oh, how am I actually supposed to play this? Sometimes the traits that you've decided on translate easily to the scenarios that you come across in an ordinary session. If you've established that your character is friendly and kind to everybody, for example, there you go. And if you have in denial about the resentment they feel towards their family as a core trait, well, that's a bit harder to work out how it applies to things like meeting NPCs for the first time. You can do it, of course. Usually, I build the skeleton of my characterization with the face, ego, heart method, which, when you get right down to it, is really a system based on determining your character's core weaknesses and lies first. And then, I put everyday behaviors over that characterization, like building muscles and flesh to cover those bare bones. But deciding your character's deep-seated secrets first is not how everyone likes to build characters, or even how everyone fundamentally thinks about characters. And it's certainly not how the rest of your party is going to get to know your character. No, the first impression they get is going to be how your character acts. So, let's figure out how your character acts.
Okay, so how do you go about fleshing out a character to play?
One method that I've seen getting more and more popular is to find a list of D&D character creation questions. I've tried this a few times. but often I find that I run into questions that focus a lot on the past, like, what was your character's greatest love? Which is a fine question if you're building a rich backstory, but it requires coming up with an entire romantic arc and another NPC when you're still trying to get a hold on what your PC is like. And then, if you're like me, you start thinking about how that romance influenced your character going forward, and before you know it, it's 30 minutes before your first session and you still don't know how your PC would talk to the rest of the party. A lot of methods have you think holistically about a character, asking you to consider their past formative events, their motivations and goals for the future, and their everyday behaviors all at once. But when you're really pressed for time, or when you're building a character for one shot and you don't need to figure out all the deeper psychology, I find it helpful to focus on solidifying your character's present behaviors. And, if you want to, you can work backwards to figure out the reasons for those behaviors later. I do this with two tools, routines and quirks. Routines are repeatable patterns of behavior that your character will fall back on in certain situations, like meeting a new person or being asked for help. Quirks are iconic mannerisms that set your PC apart from others, like always kissing their warhammer before going into battle, or always checking every corner of an inn room before they feel comfortable going to sleep. I recently read Keith Amon's philosophy of pre-planning combat strategy as either a DM or a player. If you decide beforehand that, as a baseline, your caster is always going to start by buffing their buddies on turn 1, then casting a certain spell against 1 or 2 enemies and a different spell when there are 3 or more enemies, well, that saves so much time and brain power compared with trying to evaluate changing battle conditions minute to minute each combat. Similarly, routines can relieve the paralyzing sense of what do I do, what would my character do, in social encounters. You can decide, as a baseline, your character meets someone new, they get intensely curious about this other person and ask as many questions as possible, possibly even verging towards impoliteness. Or that every time they're asked for help, they try to get as many details as possible about the situation and what kind of help is being requested before making a decision yes or no. And later, when you have more time to think about your character, you can draw connections. For example, you might decide that your character is a stranger to these lands and is still fascinated by everyone they meet. But at the same time, recently somebody took advantage of their generous nature and kept implying that they needed to do more and more to help, and now your character is being vigilant to make sure they don't get burned again. Routines are inherently reactive in nature. They're always, what do you do when? Quirks are proactive actions, and they also have a lot of rich potential for later back-solving interesting things about your character's history or motivations. Does your character kiss their warhammer before battle because the warhammer was a gift from a loved one? Or is the kiss a silent vow that they need to renew to their god? Or does your character simply really like that particular hammer as a trusted partner in the business of bloodshed? In any of those cases, you know what your character is going to do. Your character doesn't have to explain why right away, to the rest of the party, or to you.
How many routines and quirks do you recommend choosing? What are some examples?
That depends a lot on how much time you have to prepare and what kind of campaign you expect to be playing in. If you're looking to get your character together in just 5 minutes, there are 5 main routines that I think will cover most of a typical adventurer's life pretty well. Meeting a new person, getting surprised, being asked for help, calling somebody to action, and relaxation. These are big umbrella categories for a reason. When you're thinking about the routine of meeting a new person, for example, that's very widely applicable. It means something very different in a game that involves a lot of political intrigue versus a game that's mostly a dungeon crawl. And getting surprised might mean getting ambushed by an attack, or being ambushed by the unpleasant realization that your PC has gotten swindled and won't be getting paid after all. But something as simple as My character tends to stomp and curse a lot when caught by surprise. Or, my character loves to jump in and roll with any surprises. Can give you the jumping off point for figuring out the finer details of exactly how they'll roll with this surprise. Quirks are a lot more open-ended, and if you're stuck for ideas, you can even use some of the standard ideals and flaws in the PHP for this. Pick just a few that are fun and intriguing, and that leave room for figuring out the story behind them later. Try not to overload your character with quirks. 1 or 2 iconic ones will shape your character more cleanly and leave a more striking impression than a dozen contradictory ones. And as always, be mindful of the other players and PCs, and don't select a routine or quirk that stomps on their fun. So, let's demonstrate. How much time do we have left on this fireside? 2 minutes? That's more than enough to sketch out a character with this system. Alright, let's go. How does your character react when meeting a new person? They usually hang back and observe how the rest of the party interacts until they get a sense of the situation. Then they jump in when least expected. This might mean that when you meet friendly NPCs, they are shy for a while and then suddenly crack a joke. And it might mean that in combat, they spend their first action hiding or holding an action, waiting for more information, and then charge in more confidently on round 2. How does your character react to surprises? They get jumpy and nervous, they try to deal with the surprise as quickly and brutally as possible, and then they spend a few minutes hyperventilating and needing to calm down. How does your character react when asked for help? They impulsively agree immediately, then they walk it back and try to get more details, and hem and haw for a bit, and finally get reconvinced. How does your character call somebody to action? They lay out all the logical reasons why whoever they're talking to should do the thing, and they just happen to leave out or downplay the negatives. How does your character relax? They pick one person they want to get to know better, and ask that person to introduce them to their favorite things to do. Alright, quirk number 1. They keep nervously fiddling with their holy symbol or their spell focus or jewelry or whatever it is they have on whenever they're stressed or lying. Quirk number 2, they avoid giving their name before they get the name of whoever they're talking to. And that's it. You have a set of solid character behaviors to go off of that you can just dive right into a session with. Let me know if you try this out, and then let me know when you see where your character goes from there.
My friends, it is I, Count Strahd von Zarovich, and I bid thee listen. The Guild of the Black Crow have produced over 5 hours of ambient sound design for my most beautiful and ancient land. As used by Twice Bitten, these ambient backgrounds include my most private and intimate of letters, as well as bonus tracks not found in the Dungeon Master's handbook. So, hear me now. I guarantee you safe passage to their camp. Support them, and perhaps we shall meet sooner than you think.
If you think your hometown has problems, you haven't spent nearly enough time in the village of Barovia. Over the years, their taste for human flesh had only grown. The vampire spawn, the undead cult, the werewolf den. I just think we can do a little better here.
grab our shovels, and we're going to add some depth to help you run your best
Curse of Strahd.
Strahd possible. You're welcome.
He flies into a fit of rage that is unparalleled.
There's child abuse galore through this thing. He's been nailed to the wall with very long iron spikes, and I imagine it's been a very uncomfortable time for him.
You see, in tracking a monster, one always needs proper bait.
Welcome back, everyone, to Curse of Strahd Twice Bitten. Thank you for your patience during our break. As always, before we get started, a few quick announcements. First off, thank you to our virtual tabletop sponsor for this campaign, Foundry VTT. They provide an excellent virtual tabletop for all your pandemic and post-pandemic needs. If you're looking for a place to show your maps, characters, or whatnot, heavily recommend you check them out. All right, Twy, what's going on Twitch?
So, happy Pride Month, everybody. And as Pride Month, Twice Bitten has started a charity, which is Get Godfrey a Better Top 2021. For just $4.99 a month, you too can subscribe to Twice Bitten, which does such lovely things as producing this show/podcast you are listening to. And also, now that we have met with the man, he has the misfortune to the man whom I'm sure they had a lovely relationship, but come on, my guy, there are better things out there. All our spiritual efforts will be devoted to making sure, at minimum, that once Godfrey's soul passes on, he meets someone in need on Mount Celestia. Thank you very much. Serena?
Twy, this is a family show. We
Is
do
it?
talk about wholesome things. Yes.
Look,
it's
it's Pride Month. We're allowed to be
That's
a little
fair.
extra
That's fair.
gay. If you like what you are watching, you can join the discussion on our very own subreddit, reddit.com/r/twicebittendnd, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/rcurseofstrahd, for all of our past sessions, fireside chats, video essays, and highlights from the stream. As always, you can reach out to us on Twitter, say hi, or send us an email at twicebittencos@gmail.com.
All right, thank you very much, Twy and Serena. I think we were about wrapped up from our post-break announcements, so I think we're ready to dive back into the very unhappy manor of Argynvostholt. Lillison and Metreon, as you stand amidst the lonely, fog-strewn cemetery, mist softly curling across your feet, the rain pitter-patters down upon you, mud running down the sides of the path, and drizzle falling down the cracked stained glass windows that look outward down upon the cemetery. Is there anything you'd like to do out here?
Lillison will hurry up the steps back inside out of the rain, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, you do so, quickly heading back up the flagstone steps into the chapel once more. The fog within curling at your approach. Outside, you can still see the broken, slashed bodies of the corpses the Revenants once inhabited in the dining hall beyond. Is there anything you'd like to do here?
Did any of us like check out the altar or anything like that?
I
don't believe so,
did.
no.
All right, yeah. So Metreon is just going to use some of this quiet time to just mosey on over to the altar, and at this apparently broken window, and just see if he gets any sense of like just where what it's devoted to, or where anything like that.
Sure. You approach the altar, inspecting it for any sign of anything of note. Looking over it, you do see pieces of emblazoned sun carvings and similar iconography, what seems to be a depiction of a rising dawn carved into the altar, similar to some of the shattered fragments of the stained glass windows looking down over the room.
Metron will turn towards Lilson as he hops up onto the altar, sitting on it, cross-legged. So, what do? We just wait to hear from one of them? I mean, you seem to be the one that's good at initiating calls, not necessarily receiving them.
I suppose that's true. I don't really want to be bothering them every few minutes if they're in the middle of something, but I suppose I rather assumed that if they needed us, they would yell very loudly.
Yeah, they got lungs on them. They could do that. Metron just darts his eyes and surveying across the chapel, just taking in all the quietness and kind of being uncomfortable with the silence and trying to fill it with hemming and hawing.
I suppose we could go and kill the rest of the spiders.
No, you know what? And at this point, he peels off a little bit of excess web that's still clinging to his chest. I think I'm good on that. No, I'm good. Thank you. I mean, if you want to, I'm not going to stop you. But
she casts her mage hand and uses it to start picking more pieces of web off of him.
oh, bless you, Dove. Okay. Do you feel things when you're doing that? Like, do you feel for the hand?
No. Am I supposed to?
I don't know magic.
You keep saying that, and yet...
And yet what? Knowing and doing is two different things. I might do magic, but I don't know it. Not like Randy or Amity.
Yes, well... I suppose at least when you're doing your magic, you know that you're doing magic, even if you are not entirely clear how.
Metron just picks at his nails a bit, which are the semi-long, pale yellow of death, because he's still in his revenant form. But he'll just he'll kind of move himself and lie down on the altar, almost like it's a cot or a bed. Just stare up at the ceiling, just wondering what to do. I feel kind of useless right now, but I've got to admit, it's kind of nice having this break, from abject horror.
You look like you're getting ready to be sacrificed to something.
It's just, clever camouflage, if I just look like a dead person, I'm just splayed out here, and when he says that, he just makes his limbs limp and hanging off the altar. Then, who's going to attack me?
Lilison raises her palm with her focus on it a little bit.
He glares at you, but then turns away and continues to look up at the ceiling.
Okay. And as Lillison and Metreon wait away in the chapel, I presume you won't be moving to rejoin the others?
No, I think we're taking a short rest, unless something else happens that is going to interrupt that. Yeah.
All right. Well, as far as you can tell, this chapel seems quiet, isolated, and perhaps even peaceful for the moment. And as you kick back and take a rare moment to relax, upstairs, Kiva, as you and Esmeralda begin to move toward the upper chamber, you hear behind you the sound of footsteps, what seems to be your companions retreating from the room they had entered into. Do you wish to proceed or check back?
She'll keep going forward into that room.
All right, if you'd like, you can swing the door open and take a look then. Stepping forward, you see what lies beyond. Rich drapes, faded by time and neglect, hide the windows of this otherwise empty room. Near as you can tell, there's nothing more to see.
Well, that's a bit of a waste of time, so I guess we should keep going. It doesn't seem like there's any recent occupancy, footprints in the dust, stuff like that.
Make a perception check.
Yeah, she's notoriously good at those.
Better than most of us.
Oh, 19.
19. Glancing around briefly, you kind of prowl around the perimeter of the room looking for anything of note. Everything seems to be quiet and in order. Nothing out of place. A thick layer of dust all across the ground. Kind of glancing up out of the window, you get a sense that this is probably the tower that Lillison mentioned. But for the life of you, there's no sign of anyone. No footprints. No marks in the dust. Just emptiness.
All right, that unsettles her a bit. But she just goes back out to Ez, and then will cross the room and go look at that sort of door hanging off the hinge area and go in there.
Okay. Stepping inside, you see that the walls of this room are lined with lead. Emptied chests and shattered vases lie strewn upon the floor, their contents plundered. There seems to be nothing of note in here,
yeah.
no.
Okay. All right. So then she's gonna, again, tell Ez nothing here and leave the room, and I guess try to continue on to the next door.
All right, as you're stepping outside, you see Erthrindur and the others exiting their own chamber. Erthrindur and Amity, you see Kiva and Esmeralda following close behind her, making their way out.
It takes Aerith a few tries before Pete gets any words out. He's shaking. Y'all find anything?
No, but I think I'm gonna keep looking this way. Just in case. You're more than welcome to join, or if
Please, actually, yes. I'll help.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
briskly steps forward. Thank you. What you find in there?
A book, and looks like a page from a diary. So, torn painting of looks like what this was a long time ago. But she'll take out the journal page at least and show that to Erthrindir, and then I guess go into this door to the south. While he's sort of looking that over and just give a sort of cursory examination.
Okay. Amity, are you following the others?
I am.
All right. With that, Kiva continues opening doors, checking for what lies beyond. As she does so, however, Amity, you peer in just past the door that Kiva left hanging open, and just for a brief moment you catch, out of the corner of your eye, a flicker of transmutation magic surrounding a slashed picture hanging above the mantle.
All right, Amity's gonna, hold a hand up. Oh, there's a bit of magic in here. You mean this room to the north?
Yes, the room to the north. There's a
Cool,
fireplace to the
checks.
right-hand side, and just above the mantle there's a slashed picture hanging there.
Amity approaches the picture. There's a lot of magic in this place. Maybe I shouldn't get too close. She sort of points other people at the picture.
Aerith looks up from the diary, which he had been keenly reading. Wait, magic? And what kind?
Transmutation. So it could, turn into a frog.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be dangerous. Huh. Aerith crosses the room to look at the painting. To his trained eye, is there anything unique about it?
Looking over it, you see it seems to depict the mansion in far better repair.
Yeah.
You could see the clear winter skies, the silver beacon glowing in the chapel tower catches your eye immediately. It's certainly a far cry from the dark, forgotten place the mansion appears to be from the outside today.
But nothing that would indicate this is a work of magic.
Not from you can tell, no. There's just the picture and the large slash across it.
Open sesame, she says, touches it.
The picture does not respond to your tapping. It just crinkles very faintly as the canvas falters, its torn slash marks just kind of crinkling a bit under the weight of your finger.
Slash, is there something torn out of it, or is it just it's been, ripped?
It is as though a sharp blade or other object has been just slashed across it. It's just the lower half of it is just sagging, half torn over, as if the canvas has been kind of separated partway through and it's peeling downward. But it doesn't appear that any part of it is missing. It's just torn.
Aerith puts his hand to it, which you'd imagine he would not be the kind of person to do this without wearing gloves in most circumstances, but he appears to be willing for this one. Come on. Well, if he's too stubborn to see beauty when it's right in front of him, then maybe you'll see this. And he's going to cast Mending on the portrait.
Okay, as you do that, Kiva, I believe Mending takes a minute to cast, correct?
It does.
Okay, so Kiva, as you continue your exploration, you step into another room to the south, which has dark wood paneling on the walls that rise to a height of 3 feet. Above the paneling, the walls are painted with murals of religious figures performing holy rites. In the center of the west wall is a tattered curtain hanging in an open doorway, and 3 tall, slender stained glass windows set in the opposite wall depict figures in white robes with orange sunglasses behind their heads.
Yeah, she'll look over the stained glass carefully, and I guess she'll check out the curtained area first and clear that, and then go further into the room.
Sure. Just peering past the curtain briefly, you just see the debris of the hallway beyond. There doesn't seem to be anything particularly familiar here. Just a tiled floor and an iron bathtub filled with debris from the collapsed roof.
Okay. So then, yeah, she'll keep going to this door at the south, then.
Okay, feel free to give it a look. There just seems to be a corridor here, a door to your left and a long hallway that continues to the west.
All right. She'll call for Ez and anyone else that's following and go to the door right next to her next.
All right, Esmeralda follows. You want to take a look inside? What you see there is just a simple spiral staircase that seems to lead upwards. Dusty windows looking down over ruined parts of the estate.
She'll look back at Ez and just say, "Shall we go up?"
Well, usually my best judgment suggests against further sprinting, but if nothing else, I suppose it can't hurt to take a quick look. She gets back to where the others sees Irene in the hall. Hey, we're just going to take a dodge upstairs, alright? If anything happens, let us know. Irina flashes a thumbs up and glances back toward the room. Alright then, let's see what's up there.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, so with the sun sword guiding the way, she will go upstairs.
Alright. And as she does so, Erthrendir, your spell continues, the familiar magic bringing forth those sinews of flesh and muscle that begin knitting it back together as you press the two halves of the torn canvas together. Slowly, piece by piece, it begins to reveal itself, the picture, the portrait made whole once more. There's a sense of completeness to it as the last of the sinews ties the last knot together and the portrait looks toward you whole and complete as it once stood. And as it does, the beacon of the picture flashes with a brilliant silver light, and the spectral form of a huge silver dragon fills the room.
My skull lies in the fortress of my enemy,
It says,
displayed in a place of ill omen. Return my skull to its rightful crypt, and my spirit will shine here forever, bringing hope to this dark land.
With that, the dragon's apparition fades away. The glow in the picture slowly fades, and the magical aura vanishes into nothing.
Aerith just looks over at Amity, a distinct expression of what the actual fuck filling his face.
Amity is in awe, staring at the empty space where the dragon just was. She's like, Argynvostholt, but where's the skull? Where should we bring it? I suppose she receives no response, though.
No. The whatever spirit or apparition this might have been, it has vanished into the mist, and as you look up at the painting, whatever magic lingered there is gone.
It doesn't detect his magic anymore?
Nope. Not a flicker.
Oh.
Bring his bones back from... Goodness. Well, do you think he... If you could see the magic, then that's not... That might have been... Was that a security measure he put in? Or just his spirit finding a way to speak? Probably doesn't matter. We need to get the others together. There's too much going on. We gotta... Even if the knights aren't gonna listen, we gotta figure some stuff out.
They are going to be pretty jealous
of our cool undead dragon.
Amity nods. Does anyone know where they went? Everyone's missing.
Irina raises a hand.
What's up?
Just to say, Esmeralda and Kiva, they stepped upstairs. They were looking to see what was on the next floor up.
All right, and Lillison and Metreon are down in the graveyard. So, actually, is the window we're at overlooking the graveyard?
Yes, in fact, the window from this room does overlook the graveyard.
Can he pull one of the windows open?
Sure, it's not difficult to do. It just kind of creaks and groans a bit in its place there, but...
Oi! Y'all down there?
Metreon, hearing him calling up from above, stirs back to attention and sitting up on the altar. That voice sounds familiar, right?
It does. One moment. And Lillison will cast a message to Erthrindir, saying, "Is everything all right?"
Everything's fine, but we've got a lot of new information and some interest in new and a lot of stuff to talk about. If y'all could come up here, that would be nice. I'm trying to get the gang together.
Is it information I should not know?
There's a long delay before she receives the return message. I don't believe so. It's not. Part of it is, part of it is not.
Down in the chapel, Lillison purses her lips. Was there more to the message?
If you'd like, I can have us discuss the part that you might shouldn't know and then call for you again.
Lillison glances over to Metreon. How long have we been resting? Has it been an hour yet?
It's not been even close to an hour, maybe 5 minutes, if that.
Okay. Lillison speaks up to Metreon. Erthrindir wants to discuss. If you want to go back up there.
Oh, you don't want to go back up there yourself? Oh, I mean, I guess if it's information, maybe it's best you just stay down here.
Yes, he said a portion of it perhaps I should not be there for, and then I can come up for the rest.
And Metreon does this, kind of slams his hands on the surface of the altar and bounces off of the top of it. Well, if you hear any blood curdling screams, be adieu. Follow up.
Well, perhaps.
Suit yourself. And Metreon will start to head upstairs. And as he does, though, he will be again very as stealthily as he can until he reaches the third floor, where the rest of them are.
All right. If you'd like, you can move yourselves on over there. And while that's happening, Erthrindir and Amity, you remain in your current chamber, waiting for your companions to arrive. And as you do that, Kiva. You and Esmeralda step out onto the top of a landing overlooking the roof of the manor. Staring forward, you can see a massive 20-foot diameter hole in the roof, looking down over the floor below, surrounded by debris and rubble from the crumbled rooftop overhead that once stood here. Glancing about, you can see what appears to be, on the north side, an old gargoyle shaped like a dragon looking down over the north side of the roof. On the opposite side, a pair of towers looking down over the front of the mansion. All the way to the north side, you can see, beyond the gargoyle, a pair of what seem like ballista looking down over the terrain and the forest. And on the east side, a tall tower above the chapel with twin smaller towers spiraling on either side of it.
Well, I think we should try to avoid the hole, but maybe let's go to that tower over here and then head back.
Seems like a reasonable idea. Let's see what is around and take a look-see. As you step forward, out of the corner of your eye, you think you spot a flicker of a silhouette in one of the windows of one of the towers flanking the tall tower at the center. It almost looks like a silhouette for a second, but it's strange, almost bluish white, like mist. And then you blink again, you realize, no, that's not a window. Looks like an archer's post. A cross carved into the stone.
Yeah, Kiva tightens her grip on the sun sword and tells Ez that maybe she should arm herself as well, and then opens up the door. I'm really hoping that's not what I think it could be.
Esmeralda nods and murmurs a word, and you see around her springing 3 spectral images similar to herself.
Oh god, that's going to be a lot for Kiva.
All right, making your way over to the door. You see that the parapet narrows to a width of 10 feet, ending before a sturdy wooden door set into the wall of the eastern tower. As you try the handle, however, you hear something knocking about on the other side, and you realize, like the chapel below, this door is likely barred from the inside.
It's not something that, like, the two of them could potentially, like, shove, disbar. It's pretty solidly barred.
I mean, you could try to break through if you'd like.
She's really curious about what would be barred in this chapel, so she's gonna try.
All right, Esmeralda will take a step closer to you, looking about warily.
Let's see here. I have advantage on strength checks if I use this, and I have a feeling that there's probably a good thing to rage behind this door. So, yeah, Kiva will just look into herself and channel that that energy, that Fey energy, and will rage.
Okay. As you do, you feel the scars across your face crack and break, bleeding that not black but gold fluid across the side of your face. You feel your eyes flare with the greenish energy of the Feywild as you hear that song singing through your heart once more. I will need you to roll on your wild search table.
Ooh, this is a new one. So, as she's raging and that gold is dripping from her face, as we'll see that there are shimmering golden, blue, and purple lights that seem to just sort of pop into existence and surround Kiva. And as they sort of surround her, she appears to stand with a little more resolve and strength. And any ally within 10 feet of Kiva is also surrounded by the light, and we get a +1 bonus to AC.
Okay, Esmeralda looks mildly impressed. That's a new one.
Yeah, it keeps surprising me. And she just looks at her like, should we try this?
She gives a wary glance to the archer's posts, then nods. Let's see what's on... Well... And she frowns. Alright, but if anything goes south, we should check in with the others.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's gonna, with Ez's help, try to open that door, and let's do some strength.
Alright, give me an athletics check with advantage, please.
Oh no!
It's a
Right
9.
in front of a pretty girl too.
A 9. Ez is helping, so I automatically get advantage from the rage, but is like a double advantage.
There is no double advantage. I'm sorry. All right, with that, unfortunately,
wait a minute. Hold on.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do I not add anything to that? No.
No.
Okay, never mind then. Amazing.
Alas, with that, you bring yourself forward and slam yourself against the door, channeling the pure fire and rage of your Fey ancestry. But unfortunately, you thud your shoulder against it, deflecting it off. Rubbing your arm, you feel a jolt of pain through it. It feels sturdier than you expected. And as soon as you do, however, you hear something whistling through the air, and then immediately, out of the corner of your eye, before you can even react, there's a blue-white arrow, almost as seeming to be formed of mist, that speeds through the air directly toward you. That's going to be a 3 to hit, a 9 to hit, a 3 to hit, Jesus Christ, and a crit.
Anything but the crit doesn't hit, so.
Alright, so. Suddenly from around you, as you bounce off of the door. There comes a whistle through the air, and this arrow whizzes past you. You dodge briefly. You hear another one coming just behind it. You duck again. But whirling around, you see another one through the air toward you. This one, you almost dodge, but just barely. It clips the side of your leather tunic. And the third one slashes right across the side of you. It almost doesn't feel like metal, but like pure air or mist or force conjured up. But as you glance down, you'll grunt as there's a reverberation throughout you, as though the thing is slammed against your body in some way. Painfully. Esmeralda's eyes widen. We should probably go.
Yeah, she's like sort of wincing and holding her side, and it's something like it feels like she, popped a rib or something. Does she see any like combatant, or is this like just out of nowhere?
Glancing up, you do see in each of the turrets to the left and right side, behind the archers' posts, what seem to be silhouettes, figures, faces looking down upon you, but flickering bluish-white like mist. You can see each of them have knocked a longbow that looks more spectral than solid, and are drawing more arrows to knock.
Okay, Kiva's just gonna sort of like panic and hold the sun sword in front of her, which I'm imagining is her holy symbol, and just like panic turn the unholy, and is gonna try to do that.
Okay, what does that do?
So she's got to speak a prayer centering fiends and undead using my channel divinity. Each fiend or undead that can see or hear you within 30 feet must make a wisdom saving throw. If the creature saves or fails, it's turned for 1 minute and then has to like move away as far as possible. And
okay.
It can't move close to us. So
it's 2 wisdom saves. That is a 6 and a 10.
Ah, yes.
Sick.
Alright. You suddenly watch as the forms flicker, their faces turning away from you as Esmeralda watching you with wide eyes. The sun sword suddenly burns with radiance and then blazes, a nova of white light exploding out from it in all directions in 30 feet. The spirits shriek and begin turning back away from it, doing their best to avoid the blinding glow of the sword.
She's going to turn back to Ez and say, okay, now we go. Time to go.
Right, leads the way. You're heading back to the stairs?
Yes.
Alright. She will happily follow. Alright, and as the two of you vanish down the spiral stairs to the next floor down, the sound of whatever that was fades. The sound of the rainstorm fading until you hear only the raindrops on the debris of the lower corridors. And with that, you find yourselves returning to the peace of the manor.
She looks at Ez for a moment and just like, okay, let's not maybe piss off ghosts again.
Esmeralda chuckles. I suppose I'm right there with you. But at least not without the aid of the others. I probably got a bit ahead of myself there. Probably should not have gone off on our own. But that's interesting. Did you see what they were doing?
They were... It seemed like protecting whatever tower that was. I mean, they were getting ready to draw before I, stopped them with the sun sword. But it looked like they were trying to protect whatever was there and locked behind that tower.
Right. They were trying to... And that tower, in the painting we saw, that beacon, as it was said in that note that you found, there's something about this place. I think that the notes that you found might go a ways toward explaining it, but I think we should regroup the others and tell them that it feels important.
Yeah, Kiva will take her hand and drag her back to the group. And when they get back, everyone will notice that she's still got the glowing lights until she realizes that she's glowing, and then will oh fuck, stop raging.
All right. As you do so, Metron and Lillison, are you making your way up to the third floor as well?
Metron was, yeah.
Not Lillison? Okay. With that, Metreon, as you make your way back upstairs, you pass by the northern alcove that Kiva had previously opened to inspect to see if there's anything there. And looking at it, you suddenly realize that the curtain she left open has been closed.
Can you put me back on the map?
Yes, you should be there right now. On the second floor.
I do not see myself. I just see a dimly lit third floor.
You should be able to switch to the second floor.
Click on the first and second.
Oh, I didn't know I could do that.
Yep, there you go.
Foundry work. Okay, yeah, let me move myself up there.
But yes, you do see that the curtain that Kiva had previously opened, and that you last saw open, seems to have been closed, though you're certain that you did not see anyone in the corridor that you passed through.
Okay. Well, he'll go up the hall, avoiding the door where he saw, or where he heard, rather, the group of undead. And he'll just kind of go sneaking around. Does he hear any commotion coming from any particular direction?
From any particular direction, no. Though you do hear footsteps approaching from the south and north as you see Kiva making her way up and Irina peering out.
Oi, oi. Everything all right up here?
It was very nearly not, but I think I handled it.
What you guys find up here?
A book, a piece of a journal, a torn painting, and a whole lot of nothing else.
And quite a bit of information. Come on in, Metreon. We got a lot to put together.
All right. And as he's passing through, he'll look down the hall and see that the hall seems to still be broken off and exposed. Yep. But yeah, he'll follow. Did you guys find anything back there other than, the spooky guys you was talking with?
Sort of. Aerith kind of shakes himself as if to clear his head. All right. I suppose first things first. Kiva, what was up there?
Well, the roof, big fuck-off hole in the middle, and gargoyle, some what looked to be ballista up there, but
were they intact?
Some were, some weren't. And then there was the tower overlooking the chapel. The door was barred, and when I tried to slam into it and open it, I was hit with like an arrow made of mist. And so I used the sun sword and seemed to scare them off. So as I just ran back down here.
All right, that's good to know. We've Amdy, tell him about the dragon.
Well, we found this painting that was magical, and you did some kind of magic to fix up a tear in it, at which point Argynvostholt, the dragon, I don't know if you hear, that's his name, he appeared, and he told us that his skull was in the enemy fortress. I think he meant Castle Ravenloft. And to bring it back here and put it in its rightful place.
Well, if I had to guess, me and Lil was down in the graveyard, and that tomb out there, he points in the general direction. That thing had a big old engraving of the name Argynvostholt on it, and according to Lil, it had something scribbled in there about that being a place of his treasure and his bones or something.
Okay. So that's coherent, and his spirit's been talking to us all throughout the mansion. So, all right.
There wasn't no bones in there though, which is the funny part. Lil thought it might be like a diversion or a trap or something. I'm not sure. I feel like something could be there, but I just.
Well, Godfrey said that when they fought Strahd, he sort of dismembered Argynvostholt.
Who's Godfrey?
The Revenant in
cute
the
Revenant.
He was like, what?
Cuter than me.
He kind of does some mental math before looking over to Amity. To be clear, this is objective. This is not anything. This is just... I'm just grading.
Not necrophilic at all. Anyway, so he mentioned that Strahd dismembered Argynvostholt and took the bones back to the castle with him.
All of them. Just... Well, that would explain why the tomb is empty.
And that's him telling us that... Well, although on other information, we're not getting anywhere with the bastard in the throne room.
Wait, there's another one?
Yes, their commander, Vladimir, they called him. He's a selfish, short-sighted piece of shit.
So did he just say no to helping us?
He said quite a bit, most of it about the intricacies and delicacies of letting people suffer. Apparently, he's so caught up in making sure that Strahd gets tortured by this place that he won't allow any of his knights to lift a finger against him, even though that's what they're still here to do. The motherfucker, he swore an oath of vengeance, bound his men to it, and then refuses to let them fulfill it. So they're just stuck here to die and endure, not even to make a life for themselves, not to do anything, just to sit and live.
You seem proper upset by that.
It's... if he wants to do that, that's his own goddamn prerogative. But dragging people into it, he said he had friends, companions, someone... He said that one of the folks he loved died and... Oh, that bastard.
What?
Godfrey. He mentioned that someone he loved died during the siege, right? One of the knights. And Vlad mentioned an old love also, and not... Oh.
What do you think they were, like, together?
I wouldn't be surprised. And that explains... And of course, that fucker... I'm sorry. I don't mean to... It's just... It's not even that... There's layers now. It's not even that he's a commanding officer. He's his boyfriend, his husband, whatever. For him to refuse to let him live his life, to just insist, all right, this is what I need, this is what I want, and the rest of you are going to fucking listen because I am too caught up in myself to move on. How fucking awful can you be?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty shit of him. Sounds like something what's his name would do. And Metron makes the bat wing flapping motion with his hands.
More people than him, but yeah. So, fuck, I'm sorry, I've gotten off track. He's not budging unless we, I don't know, make him budge at the point of a sword. Although at that point, I think he'd laugh at us, try and kill us, and then come back in a new body to flip us off.
But there's like 9 of us. We can take him.
And I don't think it would change anything.
Well, I mean,
tempting
maybe
as
it
it would
will.
be to put a firebolt in his stupid fucking mug.
And we probably shouldn't tell him that our goal is the exact opposite of his.
I didn't.
All right, so then what do? We didn't find anything except some other vague quest that we really don't have time for.
Well, I mean, I figure we can go down to the tomb before we leave, at least, and maybe some of you with keener eyes can look around it. Like you, Emily, you got the magic eyes.
That's true. And what was it? The cute one. One of them said that he wanted to help us, so we can ask. I guess how far can he go before breaking the oath? Like, can he follow us around and help us fight jaguars.
It's worth a try.
Wait, there's
Earth looks-
jaguars now.
Are there jaguars here?
I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'd like to talk to him again too. But after that, I don't think there's anything for us here.
Well, maybe, you know what? I look like this, right? And he gestures at his undead appearance. Maybe, I gotta wave with my one. I gotta wave with my tongue. Maybe I can, maybe convince him otherwise. Maybe,
Vlad?
at least Vlad or this Godfrey, whichever we think will work. Maybe if it's coming from one of their own, maybe they'll be more inclined to, help us out.
I think they're going to recognize you, Metreon. These were brothers in arms.
I mean, I'm one of their brothers in arms right now.
Yes, but you're not a specific one.
I mean, I'm the specific one that we killed down there.
Which we told them about.
Oh.
Well, we didn't tell Vlad, did we?
No, but also I am sure that he would see that as men like him tend to see things as if you're not with me, you're against me, absurdination. He might just take your head off for talking back.
Yeah, I like my head.
I'm sure you do. I do too.
So, Kiv, you said something about finding something there? A room or something?
Well, not really a room. I found the journal and a book and the painting, but nothing else really, other than the ghost towers up on the roof.
Ghost towers? Well, maybe...
Yeah, it's best not to go up there, but maybe there's another way into that chapel tower that we can find.
I guess my question is, at this point, what are we expecting to get? This place has been looted materially. The ghost that's haunting it has told us what he wants, and the revenants are stubborn buggers.
Well, the ghosts and the spirits, they got tactics, and and they got orders, right? So I mean, if they're guarding that tower,
that they listen to Vlad.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if they're guarding that tower, then maybe there's something in there worth checking out.
Earthrendeer rubs at his temples. He looks very much like he'd like to get out of here.
Listen, we're grasping at straws here, right? We're supposed to come here looking for a guild member with a symbol or something in a tomb. I mean, this place is one big fucking tomb, right?
All right, if you think it's wise, then I'm all right going up.
I don't know if it's wise, but I just feel like we gotta, just gotta at least, cross our T's and dot our I's.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, let's see what's up there. Fight him if we need to, and after that, I'd like to leave.
Oh yeah, no, I'm very much in agreement with that.
Davian coughs loudly from his corner. You see that he's closed the doors and is now standing by one of the windows looking out over the cemetery.
What is it?
Right, well, if you're looking to get up into that tower, just came to me. Well, you managed to get up on my fucking roof, didn't you? There's a big old opening in the middle. It's a bit of a ways up, and we might need to tie some ropes together if you have them, but might be worth a shot.
Oh, Davian, you're brilliant.
Well, can't you also just call one of your bird buddies and have them check it out?
He snorts and rolls his eyes.
I mean, why go to the trouble of using the grappling hook if you can just talk to ravens?
I don't think a raven's gonna be able to carry me, let alone any of you, lass. But if your
Alright,
friend
but
over
if you
there's
go
got a
up
hook that
and-
he can...
Okay.
He shrugs. Look, there's a hook here. I don't see any ravens here. So let's go with the hook.
All right. Aerith will pop open one of the windows and see if he can't snag the edge of the roof with a grappling hook.
Let me get a sense of the geometry that we're looking at here.
Yeah.
So from this current vantage point, like, there is a window in one of the towers across the way. You could probably try to get into one of those towers, but Kiva, you would recognize it as the same turret that the spirit was in, whatever it was, or even if it's even there now.
Yeah, she would let him know that you'd be going right up into the place where the ghosts were, so probably not a wise idea.
Damn it. Alright, I guess we need to find another window then.
Davian coughs again. There's a big old fucking hole right in the chapel.
Right, you did just... Thanks. That is... Good idea, Davian. You got a good eye for verticality.
Right. Now our only hope's that the fucking beams don't break if we try to anchor him.
This place is already destroyed. Worst that'll happen is we make it a little bit more. Alright. Shall we?
So we shall.
Nothing's in this junk closet before we leave, right?
No,
Nope.
Kiva already checked there.
Awesome.
Thoroughly looted.
All right, but if we see any ravens, Davian, I'm expecting you to, chat us up.
He snorts. I'm assuming Kiva did or did not say that out loud?
Oh, she absolutely said it out loud.
Then he will give you an absolutely dirty look. Roll his eyes.
What, did I say something offensive in Raven?
Watch yourself, lass.
And then he steps on down the stairs past the curtain.
Metron, before he leaves, is going to close these doors very carefully.
Okay. And with that, you find yourselves once more on the second floor, stepping out onto the balcony overlooking the foyer.
Just getting out of the NPC jumble.
For sure. We'll move you all along speedily.
Did we all look this way to the left already?
No, I don't think we did. That was when we got distracted by that smoke dragon. Do you wanna?
1 second. Emery's just gonna take a peek.
Okay. You take a peek up this corridor. You see it's a T-shaped hallway with branches to the west, east, and south. 3 arched windows in the north wall look out over the foggy grounds. You can also see that bloodstains and slashes line the walls. And across one of the windows to the left, you see what looks like desiccated bones with a small bit of flesh hanging on. At either end of it, you see doors. If you'd like, you can take a closer look at what lies beyond.
Sure, yeah.
And Metron also wants to listen at these doors. We didn't check these doors here towards the stairways, did we?
You did not.
All right, yeah. I just want to do a quick listen, and if I don't hear anything, I'll see.
Make a perception check for me.
So,
that's a big old 6.
Seems to be silent.
All right, yeah, I'll open it.
All right. Peering into the space beyond, you see that the contents of this room are draped in cobwebs. Between curtained windows stands a black marble hearth with a sculpted mantelpiece, above which hangs a framed portrait of a handsome, well-dressed man with a wry smile and a thick mane of thistledown hair. Opposite the fireplace is a large bed with a rotting mattress and wooden posts carved to resemble dragons. Across from the double doors stands a tall wardrobe, its doors hanging open to reveal a dark and empty cavity. The only other piece of furniture is an overstuffed leather chair that faces the hearth.
Really getting a lot of mileage out of this dragon motif, ain't they? Oi, Randy.
what?
There's a picture in here. Maybe you know who it is? Maybe it's this Vlad guy you was talking about?
He steps over. Wait, that's the description Lillison gave me in her message.
Of?
The guy she saw in a 3rd floor window.
Huh. Does this look like this Vlad person, but,
Not
living?
remotely.
Oh. We don't find anything in here then. Just carry on.
They mention... One of them mentioned that Argynvostholt their dragon, that he'd taken human form, I think. Wouldn't be a stretch. If I were a dragon, I'd want to look like that.
Metreon pulls out his scalp and brings his face down, and with it reveals the image that he sees in the portrait.
Nice. No, it's a good look for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if this is that Argynvostholt guy, maybe it'll be less inclined to kill him.
Hopefully.
All right. While this is happening, Amity, glancing down through the windows, you see only the foggy grounds beyond. There's a bit of a stale, rotting scent from the bit of fleshy bone just off to the side of the window to your left. It's not a pleasant sight or sound. Sight or smell. On the other side of it, you see the two doors just at the end of the hallways just standing silently and closed.
Please correct me if my accursed memory has failed me, but I do see auras of magic in this hallway, right?
Yes, you do. Yeah. Let me check something real quick.
Oh no.
Yes. You do see hazy auras of evocation magic in front of either door, to the left and right.
Nothing much up here, just some magical doorways. Evocation. So like fireball type.
Oh, good.
So, like, if we
Kiva
step-
Yeah, Kiva's gonna go down the hallway and with the sun sword and just sort of like not go all the way next to her, but join her at the end.
Amity points out the regions of sort of evocation haze.
Okay. So that painting had conjuration or something, or transmutation.
Transmutation.
But this just seems like a spot on the floor. Huh.
Like traps.
Davian, you want to go check that out for us?
He snorts. Ha! Vecno! Esmeralda nods. I think I would agree. That does make me think of a trap.
Maybe we could throw like a rock or something over there and see if that triggers something.
That
You
might
want-
be smart, although we'd probably want to get around the corner before we do that, so we don't get our faces roasted by a fireball or something.
Or maybe someone with that hand that Lillison can do can like throw something from around the corner. Yeah.
So Lillison?
Esmeralda raises a hand. I can give it a go.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
You know what? Ez is talented, capable, and can do that as well.
Sick.
She takes a step back, glancing around the corner and conjuring up the kind of ghoulish hand you saw before. She looks around on the floor and it picks up a small bit of rubble on the ground, tossing it in the arcane hand, and then she extends it forward around the corner and, peering around the side, flings it with a flick of the wrist. It clatters across the ground, hits the door, and falls down into the spot Amity noted. Nothing.
Amity's gonna go a little further and actually open the door, peering around the corner.
With Mage Hand? Oh, I see. What you mean.
Yeah, essentially,
Yeah, let me check something real quick. Gotcha. All right. Kiva, are you standing in front of Amity, or are you backing up with the others?
No. If she was standing in front of Amity, but if Amity's gonna go open a door, Kiva will follow her to make sure that if something happens,
Yeah. Esmeralda is going to tap on Kiva's shoulder. You might want to take a step back in case there's a bit of a blast zone. The evocation magic can be unpleasant.
All right, she'll follow like one square behind Amity.
All right, Amity doesn't actually appear to be going anywhere.
Oh, okay. I thought she said she was opening a door. My bad.
Yeah, so Amity just sort of reaches out and says like, "Oh, there, please," and the door like opens. You don't see anything, like not even a mage hand.
Got it. Okay, sorry.
what?
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 Wait,
What?
what?
Why do you do that?
I mean, like, how would she do that?
Do we have an unseen servant?
There's just a spirit over there. I mean, they're kind of everywhere.
Wait, you can tell the spirits what to do.
Amity shrugs, smiling.
God, you're cool. Well, is there anything in there?
Assuming no like magic bombs went off. Yeah, Amity's gonna peer.
No magic bombs appear to have gone off.
What Oh, this door. Cool. What's in it? From the brief inspection.
Peering from this corner over here, seeing if there's anything of note, would you see... Let me check something real quick. You see that a chamber that seems to have mostly collapsed. You can see... Or, sorry, no, that's... I was looking at the wrong notes.
Zio, cut this out.
From what you can see, there appear to be tattered and faded drapes covering the windows of a circular room and empty torch sconces. You see a broken bunk bed and what looks like maybe a broken armor stand? You're not sure from this distance.
The other door, then.
Alright, you glance toward it and it swings open similarly. This one seeming to be littered with the wreckage of more ancient bunk beds. You see dirt-caked windows, a precious little light, and what seems to be an empty armor stand. 2 of them standing against the walls. More empty torch sconces line the walls.
Kiva looks over at Amity and is just like, should we split it up and maybe go one in one room and the other?
Well, if you take one more step forward, you will be inside the magic zone.
Oh, shit. Yeah, okay.
I mean, I am excited about magic, but Esmeralda, I guess, and Erthrindir, you're probably more entitled to make the call here.
I mean, what we've got those abbot things in the scroll, right? Why don't I just,
Amity, you can just make the call. You're smart. You can go for it.
And if one of you dies, I got this reside scroll. Just bring it back.
Yeah. Let's
lickety split.
Ismark and Irina are watching you with what looks like abject horror.
No. Okay.
Kiva just shrugged.
Go
like,
for
yeah,
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Go for it.
Let's do it
Fuck
live.
Doing it live.
Good old
Okay.
Good old guy.
die.
Kiva
All
takes
right.
5,000 points of damage.
Kiva takes a single step forward, and Amity, to your enchantment seeing eyes, you watch as the evocation field that she stepped into suddenly blurs and then crackles to life. There's a moment where your mouth is open almost as if to shout a warning, and then Erthrindir, to your side, to the south, there's a solid thud like bricks or stones falling into place, and when you look to the south, you can't see anything of the corridor beyond. Instead, just a sheer wall of stone now blocking the space to the south.
I see we found the trap.
And as an answer to your words, you suddenly hear cries of fury and rage, and out from the open doors, appearing as apparitions into the space, several bluish-white figures brandishing long swords, crying out in defiance and rushing toward the 3 of you. And that is where we will end it for today.
We did it live, guys.
Ooh,
We did it
hell
live.
yeah.
Don't you love when we split the party and let the absolute dumbest possible person step into the evocation field?
Can Lillison hear like the slamming and the shouting and stuff like that?
I'd say she hear the shouting in a bit, yes.
All right, well, until then, she's gonna sit in her corner and be writing her letter to Strahd. So,
As to Kiva, hey Kiva, maybe take a step back. Kiva, ghosts?
I'm so glad we have a character like Kiva who's just like, I'm gonna go in. Next campaign, if we do a next campaign,
Immense Leroy Jenkins energy.
I want to be the.
Very
I
Leroy
want to make a
Jenkins.
character like that.
I'm pretty sure that, like, at
Honestly,
least 3 people
much
are doing
more
it.
liberating than you think, because like to have that little like regard for safety, and now she's like, well, we've got like what 3. That's practically unlimited resurrections. So just bring my body back.
Exactly
In retrospect,
how it
giving a character like Kiva access to resurrection was probably not a good thing.
Oh, not in the slightest.
Alas.
See, Amity's calculus is more along the lines of it could be a trap, or there could be more magical ghost dragons to talk to.
She loves herself some ghost dragons.
Amity loves ghost dragons. I'm sorry,
very
Agent
fair.
Deer. It's true love.
Her heart belongs to another.
Ghost dragons.
A ghost dragon.
They are pretty cool.
Beautiful. All right, well, thank you to everyone for joining us today. As always, we will see you all back in the mists next week. Until then, beware the prison of ancient vows, and take care.